Imagine walking into a rainforest so enormous that you could explore for days and still barely scratch the surface. Millions of square kilometers of forest, thousands of rivers, and an incredible number of species living above, below, and between the trees. This is the Amazon. We know about jaguars, anacondas, pink river dolphins, and countless other animals. But scientists continue to document new species here, and that raises a fascinating question. What is still hiding in the Amazon? The Amazon isn't just one environment. It contains rivers, flooded forests, wetlands, mountains, and dense jungle. Every layer has its own life. High in the canopy, colorful birds move between the trees. On the forest floor, mammals and reptiles search for food. And hidden among the leaves are thousands of insects, many of which are incredibly difficult to spot. Even a single tree can contain an entire community of life. Look upward and you'll find some of the most spectacular birds on Earth. Scarlet macaws fly through the canopy in flashes of red, yellow, and blue. Toucans use their enormous bills to reach food in places other animals can't. And harpy eagles, one of the world's most powerful eagles, hunt from the forest canopy. But these are only some of the birds we know. Deep inside remote forests, researchers continue finding species and populations that were previously poorly documented. The Amazon's canopy is so enormous that much of its life remains difficult to observe. Now look closer. Much closer. The Amazon is filled with insects. Leafcutter ants can create enormous underground colonies. Morpho butterflies flash bright blue as they move through the forest. Stick insects can look almost identical to branches. And some insects are so small that you could walk past them without ever knowing they were there. Scientists continue discovering and describing new insects and other invertebrates. For every colorful bird you notice, there could be hundreds of tiny creatures hiding beneath it. And among the rarest birds in the Amazon are species so elusive that sightings are treated as events. The dark-winged trumpeter, the golden-crowned manakin, the Iquitos gnatcatcher, critically endangered, surviving in extremely small, restricted ranges and facing severe habitat loss. Some are known from only a handful of records. To see one is rare, to protect one is urgent. Deep in the Amazon's rivers lives one of its strangest animals, the Amazon river dolphin, also known as the pink river dolphin. Unlike almost every dolphin most people know, this one lives entirely in freshwater, hundreds of kilometers from the sea. It looks nothing like its ocean relatives. It has a long, narrow beak, a small hump instead of a tall fin, and an unfused neck, which lets it turn its head almost completely around. An advantage when you are hunting between submerged branches. Its color can range from gray to pink, and some adults become noticeably pinker with age. And during the wet season, when the rivers rise by meters, the water pushes out into the forest itself. The dolphins follow it in. So imagine traveling through a flooded section of the Amazon, drifting between trunks and branches, and suddenly seeing a pink dolphin swimming past you through the trees. But the Amazon was not always home to the animals we know today. Millions of years ago, enormous creatures lived here. One of the most famous was Titanoboa. This prehistoric snake lived around 60 million years ago and is estimated to have reached roughly 13 meters in length. That is longer than a modern school bus. Estimates put its weight at over a ton. It lived in a hotter, wetter world, in an ancient version of this landscape, and it hunted in the water, taking prey the size of crocodiles. Titanoboa eventually disappeared, but its discovery proved something incredible. The ancient Amazon could support animals far larger and far stranger than almost anything alive there today. The rivers hide their own secrets. Arapaima glide through dark water, armored in thick scales, growing to more than 2 meters and rising to the surface to breathe air. Electric eels produce powerful electrical discharges, strong enough to stun prey and to be felt by anything unlucky enough to be standing nearby. Caimans wait near the riverbanks, almost completely still, for hours. And beneath the surface are countless smaller species, some brightly colored, some almost invisible, others with shapes so bizarre they look like they belong in a science fiction film. And the deeper researchers look, the more species they find. But here is where the Amazon stops feeling like just a forest and starts feeling ancient and almost unknown. Vast regions remain remote, dense, and barely studied. Hidden inside them could be life that science has never properly documented. Tiny frogs beneath layers of dead leaves, insects living inside hollow trees, fish in isolated blackwater rivers that connect to nothing else, spiders, reptiles, and microscopic organisms with adaptations completely unfamiliar to us. The Amazon is so vast and so alive that reality could easily be more creative than anything we might imagine. Who knows what is still moving through its shadows? And while there is no reliable evidence that prehistoric giants like Titanoboa survive today, the real mystery is arguably even more fascinating. What entirely new forms of life are waiting to be discovered? So the question isn't just, what is out there? It's, what have we not even begun to imagine yet? Which brings us to a question people ask constantly. How much of the Amazon has actually been explored? You might hear claims that only 40 to 50% of it has been explored. But there isn't a reliable scientific measurement that gives us an exact percentage. Satellites have mapped enormous areas of the rainforest in extraordinary detail. We can see where every river bends and where the canopy thins. But mapping an area is not the same as understanding everything living inside it. Scientists can know exactly where a forest is, while still knowing very little about its insects, its microorganisms, its plants, and its animals. In reality, this means a significant portion of the Amazon remains only partially studied or not fully explored in any real detail, leaving vast regions where new discoveries are still highly likely. And that is exactly why new discoveries keep happening. Not once a decade, every single year. Who knows what species are still out there, hidden deep in the rainforest, waiting to be documented for the very first time. The Amazon has been home to giants. Its rivers are filled with mysterious animals. Its canopy is filled with birds. Its forest floor is crawling with insects. And somewhere in all of that complexity, there are still species waiting to be found. Maybe the next major discovery will be a tiny frog, a strange insect, an unusual fish, or an animal nobody expected to find at all. Probably not another Titanoboa, but perhaps something just as fascinating, because the greatest mystery of the Amazon isn't what we imagine could be hiding there. It's what real life has evolved into that we haven't discovered yet. This is Depths, Below and Beyond. Explore the unknown. Discover the deep.